I told you, I told you, I told you, I told you, I told you. We have that coming up at Denver Broncos Mile High View. No commercials, no bullshit. We also have coming up our depleted draft and free agency look at. We have also going to talk about the subject everybody is talking about, and that is Russell Wilson. Lying in bed just like Russell Wilson did. So I see we're taking some heat. I lay out an article. these people think I wrote the article because unfortunately in Broncos country the bullshit is so thick that you need you need a chainsaw to cut it with. Where it's Super Bowl. How many Super Bowls are we up to now? What's the latest count on Super Bowls?
3 to 5.
3 to 5 Super Bowls. What? Okay, we're okay. Again, these guys promised the moon, right? But this time they're promising the whole galaxy, right? If we don't hit the treetops, what happens when things don't go exactly according to plan? The same people who say we're too hard if we don't do exactly what we say. All we do analysis is what we do. We do analysis. And we try to figure out how to fix a problem. We try not to. We probably point the finger at Bronco fans maybe more than we should. I think we should really expect what they are and just have to live with that. But what happens when the Denver Broncos don't meet these high in the sky, pie in the sky, or these lofty Super Bowl or bust? What happens then?
They're gonna drum George Payton, Nathaniel Hackett, and Russell Wilson out of town.
Okay, so instead of buckling down, say, okay, if it doesn't work out, how can we fix the problem? It's the blame game, right? But I realize that everybody now believes in their minds that it's a shoe-in. But we've been breaking down film in Seattle, and quite frankly, and let me also explain that everybody outside of this bubble had a take. Everybody outside of the Bronco bubble, they had a very, I would say, reasonable take. And the take was, why would Russell Wilson, what they were confused about, why would Russell Wilson go from one situation in Dallas to a similar situation in Denver? And they brought up how this team is exactly the opposite of a Rams, an opposite of a Tampa Bay, an opposite of everybody else in player personnel. It wasn't us saying it. This was what the rest of the NFL, outside of those talking bubble talk about receivers. Last time I checked, the Seattle Seahawks actually have a pretty damn good receiving core, and that wasn't Russell Wilson's issues. His issues was with the offensive line. Watching the offensive line, I don't think he realizes what he's getting into, because their offensive line, so far in watching film, would break down far less than the Denver Broncos, because the Denver Broncos, their line, offensive line, breaks down not just in the passing game frequently, but also breaks down in the running game frequently. Would you like to add something to that?
Oh, yeah. The offensive line for the Denver Broncos, if the people on the comment section are saying that they're going to run the West Coast system, the West Coast zone running system, my apologies, they don't have the player personnel to run that system. Garrett Bowles is a guy that I expect to, he regressed back to last year what I thought he was, and that's a bottom 15 offensive tackle in the league when you gave him the buttload of money. Dalton Reisner has regressed because they mishmashed systems with Pat Shurmur, and when he was under Rich Scangarillo's watch, he actually played his best football when they were pulling him. Lloyd Cushenberry is one of the 5 worst centers in the National Football League. You re-sign Graham Glasgow, who's more of a power gap scheme type of player who doesn't fit this scheme whatsoever. Quentin Miners, I'm a big fan of. I think he has the potential to fit this scheme. I think he has a lot more athletic / power strengths than Lloyd Cushenberry and Graham Glasgow. Natay Moody doesn't fit this system whatsoever. He is a power moving left guard who relies on his power. And your right tackle situation, I've been saying it, you should have drafted Tristan Wirfs in that draft instead of Jerry Jeudy. I'm telling you guys would have been fine. You guys should have drafted Ryan Ramczyk over Garrett Bowles back in 2017. So you guys just don't understand. I look at things. I just want to say this. I look at things in a more deeper aspect. People are going to disagree with my takes all you want. I really don't care. But I am the one that, me and him, I put out draft film. He puts out the game film. We talk behind the scenes of what we see. We don't do this. Oh, we have film. We actually provide film to you people. You guys can take it or leave it. But what I see on film when Russell Wilson's going to come here, I agree with you. He doesn't know what he's walking into in Denver at all.
Well, and that, this is what's really interesting is you have a certain group of people who were brainwashed for the last 2 seasons that they've been told that quarterbacks just naturally want to come here just because of no reason at all. They just want to come here. And I post articles that I guess that I typed up myself from, for instance, the Sporting News, ESPN, where these fans think that Russell Wilson was just doing everything to get to Denver, which is absolutely not the truth. I mean, the bottom line is he's here now, but I'm just trying to just to say that you have people that just are very knee jerk. They're easy to it's easy to get lots of likes if you know how to say things that make them feel good all the time. Oh yeah, that Wilson, he just always wanted to get here. The truth was that Wilson was trying to work it out with Seattle. Well, first of all, the truth is that Denver was solely, really, their number one goal was to try to get Aaron Rodgers. And again, we were right again. We said there's no way this guy's gonna want to come here. He obviously didn't, and that pissed off all those people. Russell Wilson was trying to work on. So let me back up again. So the Broncos initially, that's not their number one guy. Rodgers was their number one guy. How do you think that makes Wilson feel? Because everything waited. We had to wait for Rodgers before the Broncos knew for sure that they would, going to go with Wilson. Wilson tried to get things done with Seattle. I posted the articles. That it was in February. Excuse me. That was in February. Obviously, that didn't go anywhere. Seattle did say that they weren't interested, because they were trying to work it out. Then, as it turned out that it wasn't going to happen, according to Sporting News, ESPN, according to them, this wasn't me. I just posted the links. So don't, just because it doesn't go with your narrative, But Wilson wanted to either get with the Giants or he wanted to get with the New Orleans Saints. Giants wanted to not give up trade capital. They wanted to keep building their team properly, which Seattle can do now. The Broncos, they kind of put the cart in front of the horse. And Saints, they didn't have the draft capital for Seattle, and they couldn't pay for Wilson. He said no to Washington, who wanted him, and he said no to the Eagles. That may be a regret of his. He may regret not wanting to go to the Eagles, because the Eagles came to Denver and pretty much manhandled them player personnel. Well, that wasn't just a quarterback thing, by the way. So you have a fan base that really believes they're just a quarterback away because there's just been nothing but propaganda. So if it doesn't work out the way the Super Bowl or bust, to me, I don't want to hear from fans. If this is a 9-8, we're just happy to be in the playoffs, got knocked off in the first round. Don't come here. You didn't say it. You didn't prove anything because Locke could have done that. Bridgewater those two quarterbacks could have done that too. They could have done it last year too. But, unfortunately, we don't have the player personnel. But I think the reality of the player personnel situation in Denver is going to manifest itself because, like I said, watching the Seattle Seahawks film so far, their offensive line doesn't break down as much. I will say in the Minnesota Seattle game, it did break down just at the wrong time. It held together great until that third quarter, and that was one of the reasons they lost. Wasn't the only reason. Defensively, their defense is, that's another question. The Broncos got defensive questions too. You know, as much as Fangio kept the Broncos in games, we also got blown out of games. Raiders, Ravens. So you don't forget that. I know many of them have. It never happened, right? So the bottom line is that living up to the hype is going to be very interesting, to say the very least. Go ahead.
So I want to go back to what you said earlier about that Russell Wilson, wasn't his ideal destination, and people will
Correct.
say, "Oh, it was." I just want to say I was wrong on the Washington Commanders or whatever they're called now, and the Philadelphia Eagles. It wasn't his first two choices, so I apologize. That was wrong on my part. But I'll go off of what you said about the free agent destinations for Russell Wilson. People say that this is a free agent destination for quarterbacks. Okay, so why didn't Tom Brady come here? Why didn't Matthew Stafford come here? Why didn't Aaron Rodgers come here? Like I don't understand people's logic. If this is a quarterback's destination, thriving in, why didn't they come there? The whole Russell Wilson argument, this came out of the blue. I mean, me and you weren't expecting this. He had a list of places he wanted to go, and Denver wasn't on that list.
Well, in the Broncos, Wilson wasn't their number one guy. I mean, it was Aaron Rodgers all the way. You got to remember that too.
And to go off of what you said about the defense, I have major concerns about this defense because from what I know and doing a lot of deep dive on Izarro from the Rams, he runs a lot of nickel and dime personnel. And to me, that is going to manifest itself is, are you going to have a great front seven? Because you can't rely on these corners. I mean, why? I mean, the whole basis of you saw what the Chargers did. They went out and got Khalil Mack. So they're getting that push up the middle / edge player. But, you know, we will talk about free agents in a minute. Our front seven is probably the worst in the National Football League.
One of the worst, yeah. Yep.
It's probably the worst. And the offensive line for the Seattle Seahawks is consistently better in a run blocking way than the Denver Broncos. The Broncos,
yes, it would be definitely. It appears from what I'm seeing on the film, it appears to be much more consistent. Yes.
Yeah, and the Broncos' offensive line is one of the most inconsistent in the National Football League, and I think they're a bottom 10 offensive line in the National Football League because you keep mismatching systems to put a point over. This is John Elway 101 here, and he still exists, and he's still the president of football operations / GM. We all know this, but anyway, the Broncos' offensive line is. I don't understand the whole hype around it because we saw Flack get killed, Simeon get killed, Lynch get killed, Keenum get killed, Locke, Bridgewater against top level front sevens. I mean, okay, against the Lions and the Lions JV team when they had like 15 players out and stuff like that. Those type.
Did you see Draymond Jones? Did you see Draymond Jones?
Yeah. And there's a reason why he is not regarded as one of the best 3-tech defensive linemen or defensive linemen in the National Football League in a 3-4 system. You need. I am more concerned about this defense than I am this offense, but I'm more concerned about offensive line and defensive line because those units are one of the worst. They're probably the worst in the National Football League, in my opinion.
Before we get into free agency and everything else, do you see Russell Wilson extending here in Denver, or do you see 2 years and out of here?
If things don't go as planned, 2 years are out of here.
That's what I think too. It's going to be 2 years, and the new owner comes in and everything. That is kind of how I project this thing going. It's not. They never hit they always promise everything, and I don't see them. Hopefully I'm wrong. I'll be all excited if things turned out, but you can't disregard reality. You can't, you're only as good as the army you're taking in. I don't know exactly what their plan is as far as how their schemes are going to work. I'm assuming that they're open to Russell Wilson being the offensive coordinator. So that could be a good thing. Better than Shermer, I think I would
Well,
take him.
Well, okay, so with okay, I want to go back and watch. I want to go back and tell you what I saw in film about Russell Wilson. I talked to you before we got on here. To me, Russell Wilson thrives in a run and shoot offense. We had a Seahawks commenter that came on here, and thank you for your insight, by the way.
Absolutely, yes.
I agreed. I agree with your take, the Seahawk fan, because that's exactly what I saw in his early days in Seattle. He thrived off of that run first / bootleg / read option type of offense. And, I want the Denver Broncos to run that West Coast scheme because I think that's the most successful offensive scheme in the National Football League. But the difference between the 49ers that run that scheme and the Denver Broncos is they have the player personnel and the offensive line to run that scheme. We don't have that here in Denver. They have the patience to run that scheme. We don't have the patience to run that scheme. If you're going to make Russell Wilson throw it 40-plus times a game to compete with Patrick Mahomes, that isn't going to work out, and that's going to show its ugly face time and time this season. You need to rely on the run because you drafted Javonte Williams in the second round, and if you're not going to use him, then why did you draft him? That's the problem I'm having with this whole argument that, Russell Wilson, he's going to throw it to these receivers that we have in Denver that aren't widely viewed as top 10.
I see where you're going with this, and I think this is a good place to start and to keep an eye out that the guy up still that's got tentacles until the new ownership comes. He wants to see bombs away. He wants to see pass, and I agree. I think that it's run and shoot West Coast. Run and shoot West Coast would benefit. And I don't know what Russell Wilson's mindset is. Is he on board with something like you said, run and then the play action, some RPO kind of stuff? But I would limit RPO, quite frankly, because of his age. Because this is a 17-week season. And if this guy, if ever all this, he's done for the season. And then excuse. Well, there's no excuse to run him when you could have threw the ball, or you could have handed the ball over to Williams, this great running back you got. There's no excuse for a bad offensive game plan and getting him killed. I'm going to stick by, I think the Ravens better start reinventing Lamar Jackson. I'm going to go back to that because he ain't going to last to 17 doing, run around like a chicken with his head cut off, taking big hits and stuff like this.
Well, we saw that rear its ugly head this past season. He got hurt.
Yeah, so you get, but they're probably dumbasses too, and probably won't get the memo till it's way too late. These, I don't know what it is about these NFL teams, but it's gonna. I think that's a good starting point. Are we going to be heavy West Coast run? Terrell Davis. I mean, look at the old Broncos. If you want to really even go there, the old Broncos. Where you got Williams playing the part of Terrell Davis, and then Wilson running his play action, playing even Jake Plummer, if you want to really even go there.
And that is a good point on your part because we don't. Again, this goes to the Seahawks offensive line in the running game and the Broncos offensive line in the running game. Who's more consistent on what you saw in film? Seattle.
The Broncos as much. Yes,
the Broncos are more inconsistent, and that's why it's going to be hard for me to see them stick with that run because their offensive line is a bottom 10 unit in the league, and they're going to be probably forced in some games to throw it 40-plus times, and that's going to hurt Russell Wilson in the long run more than people realize.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you because I think that the mid-level statistic grade that they get is very generous. I think that's a very generous grade for that unit. But how about this? You wanted offensive line off, and everybody told you how stupid you were, right? And now look at you got Russell Wilson, and you didn't put those. Imagine, like you said, and you said this, imagine if all those pieces that you wanted wasn't, and Russell Wilson and Williams had those pieces in front of them.
You could have built this offensive line over the years. You could have got a Ryan Ramczyk. You could have got a Creed Humphrey. You could have got a Quentin Nelson. You could have got
You're so wrong. You're so wrong. You know. Oh yeah, we could really use that right now.
And if I'm so wrong, then why did Rashawn Slater ball out in Los Angeles? And on top of that, I'm the only person out there that has put offensive line film for the Denver Broncos that makes sense out there. And I just got bamboozled, bombarded, all this crap about how I'm wrong I am. We need corners, we need tight ends, we need, those skill position players. And look what happened now. Now you don't have a pick until the early third round. Well, late second round, it's basically a third round pick. Okay. Round pick. It's a late second round pick from the Rams. So it's a early third round pick, in my opinion.
Okay. So I also want to make a disclaimer too. I'm right now putting video together for Russell Wilson, and I don't want that to become the focal point of our talks. I'm just doing it as a reference, something to look at, something to like a library, so to speak. But it needs to be put out so that so because there's so much bullshit going on right now. We need to see the good, the bad, the indifferent. We need to really focus now because it's $50 million. Hold on a second. Speaking of the $50 million, go back to your point in a minute, but explain how this cap doesn't hurt now, but it is going to hurt even more later on.
Well, I think this cap hurts right now too, because if you look at his contract, he took so you had $40 million in cap space. You cut that in half. Now you have about $24 million in cap space. So he ate up half your cap. When you could have used that on depth pieces, you could have used that on free agents like we will talk about later. But you could have spent that money at valuable resources. But do I trust the Denver Broncos organization to do that? No, because all they can talk about is edge rushers, just like they did last year with corners. This cap situation with Russell Wilson, I mean, I'm more worried about that than his possible decline play on the field, because I think that I agree. I think we're right. I think we're on to something. If this doesn't go well in 2 years, he's out of here. And then you're going to be sitting there thinking, so what happened? Why didn't he succeed in Denver? Well, you probably used your resources and all your other stuff on positions that you didn't really need to upgrade, and you could have upgraded them at certain needs that help a football team in a foundational cultural way.
Well, this should have been happening long before Wilson got here, and that's our argument. We've put the cart in front of the horse with the Elway way, the Elway corners, edges, and all this. This is a team that is so depleted in the middle, and there's this obsession about the edges is mind blowing, and this obsession to ignore the middle, ignore the offensive line too, and in player personnel design. Bringing in Shermer, like what were you thinking, Elway, bringing in Shermer? What? It's not Fangio. Just stop with that. And again, we're going to see what is it you actually want to run with Russell Wilson? Is it bombs away? This is Patrick Mahomes. Just throw. That's it's going to be interesting. That's all I can say.
But I will say this. If we built this right over the years, I would take Russell Wilson over Aaron Rodgers in a heartbeat.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's a disclaimer too, that this is the guy we would have taken especially if we built this West Coast, and our offensive line was built West Coast, and we had we got that meddling guy up in the front office just to leave things alone and let the coaches do their job and the scouts do their job and get this team built properly instead of fixating on the edges.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think the chickens will come home to roost, and that's not fair to Russell Wilson. And we're also here to defend him too, because I am not going to sit here and let people just say, drum him out of town, the quarterback. What our job is, Colby, is we should focus less on moron fans, the ones that just want the quick answers. They don't want to look into anything. We should just do what we do well, is all the in-depth stuff and and just say, look, we've been showing you film all along. We know what's coming. We know what's coming. And there's
Well,
no
we
else.
I mean, last
I don't see. I disagree with Sports Talk Radio. I don't see the Chargers or the Raiders shaking in their boots because they know where we're depleted, and they know Russell Wilson can. Like I said, here, this is the problem too with the NFL is really to blame for this too. The NFL has turned their quarterbacks into Disney princesses. This is football. This isn't about quarterback glamour shows. This isn't GQ. Okay. This is football. Okay. Everything's won and lost in the trenches. Okay. First of all, quarterbacks, you have to, this is my philosophy, always was with quarterbacks. And I knew good ones. And it's even the good ones, how your mentality should be on your football team as a owner, GM, and players is you should treat your quarterback like a 90-year-old granny, no matter how great they are. You want to make sure that quarterback is helped out in every capacity possible, starting with what's in front of them. The lines have to be, the best lines you can put in front of them, and then go from there. That the lines is what gives, look at there's quarterbacks that are doing well, like the one with the Titans, who the Bronco fans would have nothing to do with because they know the inside out approach. Tannehill. Is it Tannehill, I think? Yeah.
Right.
Ryan Tannehill. So that's what I'm saying, that, Brady, I mean, he was blessed, and he should get off his high horse. He was blessed with probably one of the best offensive lines ever in the National Football League since maybe the old 49ers, year in and year out. His uniform just never got touched. Plus, he's with his skill set of getting rid of the ball quick, you put those two things together, but again, you put that guy on a team like the old Cleveland Browns, Brady's a footnote in history. So it's building this thing correctly. So I don't want to hear, when we see the problems that are going to manifest, we know that they're going to, and things don't work out the way I don't want to hear. I'm sick and tired of, it's your fault. It's your, yeah, we blame Elway. I understand because we see him meddling. That's why we do that. And what we try to do is we try to show you this. If you do this, if you put these parts in the clock just right, you put that gear wheel there, the clock will work. And when it doesn't, you blame, it's not just about putting a face on a clock. Oh, it's a pretty face. That clock has no, it's about all the gears and springs and everything else that make the clock work. And that's what a lot of fans don't want. They don't want to hear about how the clock works. They just want to see it work.
Well, this whole, yeah, I agree with your point. If and when they bury Russell Wilson, I'm going to hold all you people accountable. I mean, I'm going to, because you guys got your quarterback, okay? Now, like I said, that I'll go over and over again. Would this have been the way I would have done it currently? No. I mean, I would have done it the Pat Bowlen way. And that way is build this team up, offensive line and defensive line, get better player personnel than what you do have. Because a lot of people aren't talking about this. You do realize your depth is going to suffer from this. Your special teams is going to suffer from this. A lot of your components on that clock that you're talking about is going to suffer. And no one is talking about that. They're all fixated on Russell Wilson, like I am with this Monster drink. I am so fixated on drinking this, I'm not thinking about anything else. Just like that bubble right there. They are not fixated on the bigger components that help that quarterback succeed, like better receiver player personnel.
Yep, I was just going to say that. I was just going to
go ahead.
I was going to say that because watching the film, those receivers that Seattle have know how to get open. They know how to put on the moves that get open. I mean, I'm going to play one where I could see this should be what Jerry Jeudy does. Use his so-called route running. Because what Russell Wilson is like many other quarterbacks, if you can create some space, you just make it that much easier, and he can hit those targets every single time. But his receivers, from what I'm looking at, they do a lot to get that space. So sometimes, unfortunately, those wide receivers are wide open, and he doesn't see them. Kurt Warner brought that up, and but I don't want that being held against him all the time because you don't always see it. But you mentioned drumming Wilson out of town down the road here. I guarantee you, if things don't go right, you're going to hear, I wanted Aaron Rodgers. I didn't want Wilson. I wanted Aaron Rodgers. I did. I guarantee all these people that said, I want Wilson, because we saw that with Locke too. We want Locke. And those same we want Locke people wanted him out, after Pat Shurmur screwed them all up. So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that a lot of these people that are, hate our guts, they're going to be the first ones, pointing fingers. They're going to be the first blaming. They're the first going to, and I guarantee they're going to say, I wanted Aaron Rodgers. I didn't want it Wilson. I wanted Aaron Rodgers. Didn't want Will. I'm putting that down on the record now that's what they're going to say. That's what they're going to say.
Of course, that's what they're.
And I'm going to tell them to shut the fuck up. I'm going to tell them to shut up. You got a quarterback. Let's try to figure out how to make this work. Shut up. Sick of it. They'll probably get him till where he's not going to sign and leave. Yeah, it's coming. It's there's things that some things just don't change. It's.
Well, the thing that I have a big problem with this whole Russell Wilson fixated argument is this roster is not a Super Bowl roster. This isn't the Tampa Bays before Brady. This isn't the Los Angeles Rams before Matthew Stafford. This isn't the Patriots before Brady. This isn't the Chiefs before Patrick Mahomes. This isn't the Bills versus Josh. This isn't the Bills before Josh Allen. Those teams built something up that was more foundational and more culture driven than what we are in this bubble, which is PR, receivers, corners, and all the above.
Edge rushers.
Oh, yeah, my apologies, and edge rushers. And I have to say this while you hold your mile high bubble. Who dominated the Super Bowl this past year? Was it Von Miller or was it Aaron Donald?
Aaron Donald.
Okay. Who took over in the second half? Was it Von Miller or Aaron Donald?
Aaron Donald.
Okay. So, yeah, we're so fixated on Von Miller, which I think Von Miller is a hell of a talent. I love Von Miller. But you guys have to understand something as he holds the mile high bubble. You guys don't have an Aaron Donald on your defensive line. You guys don't have an A'Shawn Robinson. You guys don't have a Sheldon Joseph Day. You guys don't have a guy that just got released who I would go after, an Eddie Goldman. You guys don't have that interior pass rush from a player personnel standpoint that will help your team at all. You just don't.
Everybody outside of this bubble is an echo chamber. By the reason I put that up, because that inside that bubble is an echo chamber. It doesn't want to hear any voices of reason. That's why I had to start this channel, because I'm sick and tired of garbage like that. Everybody around the NFL is looking at this and saying exactly what you're saying. This isn't Tampa before Brady. This isn't this isn't the player personnel around Mahomes. Stop already. Well, what about the Super Bowl with Tampa and Kansas City? I mean, while everybody was fixated on Brady, what happened with that push up the middle that took Mahomes off his spot, and then the linebacking that took away those first reads?
Yeah, I think that's also not even a lot of people outside the NFL view linebackers as valuable. I value coverage linebackers like it's something, because
the good teams do. The good teams get it.
Yeah, the good teams get it. But like the people that you listen to, like a Colin Cowherd, don't think that you need middle linebackers anymore. Total bullshit, because you need.
What's his name?
Colin Cowherd.
Shoot myself in the head, then listen to that garbage.
Oh man, it's ridiculous. He's just doesn't understand.
Getting a paycheck because he's saying the things that Dove Valley wants him to say.
Oh, he's saying stuff that will sell. He says shit that sells, like Mile High Bubble.
Well, you read the comments, all of his comments on all kinds of stuff. It's like, God, this guy's so contradictory. He just gives you what the latest feel good is. Whatever the latest, whatever anybody wants to hear, he'll give you that.
Yeah, and everything predicates from the middle of the field. I mean, you have to understand that, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of offenses in the National Football League rely on that middle of the field. Why do you think San Francisco is so good? Because they run, play action pass middle of the field, and out an overhanging route in the middle, and you hit Brandon Ayuk or Debo Samuel. That is a 20-plus yard gain. Because everything predicates on the middle field. When you don't have linebackers that can cover, like Zayvon Collins and Isaiah Simmons in Arizona, when you want to bring back Josie Jewell and Alexander Johnson and forget about Baron Browning and Kenny Young, guys like that, you're going to suffer in there. And when you don't have that defensive line pushing up the middle, that's going to make everything around that worse. It's going to make everything worse.
So let's talk about push up the middle. You say Eddie Goldman is that guy just a bum?
No, he is not just a bum. He is a defensive tackle, nose tackle strictly in a 3-4 defense that can help with that push up the middle.
To help the end. Help the end. Yeah, the Broncos to me seem that's their stronger suit. They seem stronger on the edge by far than they are in the middle.
I agree. You can bring back. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're hitting it.
Oh, okay. I would bring back Malik Reed. I wouldn't go after a Chandler Jones or a Hassan Reddick or a Von Miller. I would rather go, okay, we need to build this defensive lineup. Okay, so let's bring back Malik Reed, and Stephen Weatherly actually looks good in the limited playing time. You can have that rotation with him and Jonathan Cooper on the edge. Okay, now let's go get an Eddie Goldman. You know, they want to go get a 35-year-old washed-up Calais Campbell, which I think is a bad decision on their part.
That would be total Elway. That is nothing that we haven't seen from this organization since Pat Bowlen handed the reins over, not intentionally, but
was forced.
John Elway sat there and got the reins from Pat Bowlen. These are the exact same signings, and it won't end until we get him totally. This is where my pointing the finger, because after 7 years of this same thing, and then then this. That's good. That's good. You know, the echo chamber. Oh, yeah. That's good. That's good. Let's don't get people who actually can do something. Let's get washed up has-beens. Let's do that. You know, we've seen 7 years of
it in any goal. Yeah.
We've seen 7 years of that.
Of course we have. I mean, I would covet an Eddie Goldman, a Sheldon Joseph Day, an Ashawn Robinson. Like, those would be my top 3 players I'd go after on the defensive line. If I had to go out and get somebody to make an impact on this defensive line, my number one guy would be Eddie Goldman from the Bears, because I know his strong suits, and I know what he can do for that defensive line when healthy. I would at least go after 2 defensive linemen in this free agency. At least I would get Eddie Goldman to play that right end in a 3-4 and a 3 tech, and then I would probably I would cut Mike Purcell because he's counting $3.19 million against the cap. Cut him, he's washed up, and then I would go after an Ashawn Robinson to play the nose tackle position, or I would bring in Eddie Coleman to play that and put Ashawn Robinson on the right side, or I would put Eddie Goldman on the right end position in a 3-4 to 3 tech and bring in a Sheldon Joseph Day. Sheldon Joseph Day is going to cost a little bit more, but he's younger and he has the power rushing prowess to get that push up the middle. They would make Draymond Jones look better than he is.
Well, they'd make all our edge rushers count for something.
Yes.
Yeah. And we see this is what the successful teams do. They don't bring in that washed up has-beens. Okay.
No, we need to go get a right outside linebacker. You can this is the problem. This is my fear because free agency starts Monday. So this is going to be key. I hope that we don't get a Chandler Jones. I hope we don't get a Hassan Reddick. I hope that we use this $23 million. You still need a nickel corner. You still need a strong safety next to Simmons. You still need a coverage linebacker. You still need an offensive tackle. You still need another tight end.
Well, they need it, in my opinion. They need a center. Oh, did you know that Cushenberry says his hand placement is so much better now?
Oh, so he got better as a bottom 3 center to a bottom 5. So he won a spots. Like go out and get a Ryan Jensen from the Buccaneers, who's a free agent. You can give him a 2-year. What is it? 2-year? You would have to delegate this price because you don't have a lot of money now because of the Russell Wilson contract. So okay, so let me ask you this. Would you go get a center in free agency or would you get defensive line? Me personally, I would go after defensive line more
I'm just
because
saying that my point was that the needs on this team are
I
many,
know
are many.
I know, but you got to recognize value over need. In my personal opinion, I think the push up the middle is more valuable right now.
Yeah, no, I just said that. Yeah.
If we had that 40 plus mil, oh, I go after Ryan Jensen. I go after Ryan Jensen in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But I don't. I think he's gonna ask for way too much money. So you could go after an Austin Beeline, who's a way better center, who comes over from the Chiefs. You could bring him in, be a mentor to your next center. You could bring him in on a 1 year, $5 million contract.
Whoa. Now you're talking about development. How dare you?
Well, that's what you need on this team. You need development.
Yeah, bad.
Bad.
Yeah, we're one quarterback away. I think that reality is going to bite him in the ass here pretty soon.
So what happens when Russell Wilson gets hurt? If he gets hurt, who are you going to go to? You don't have Drew Lock. You don't have Teddy Bridgewater. Brett Rippon's a free agent. Who are you going to go to? You're going to draft one of these quarterbacks in the draft in the 5th. You're going to waste a top 100 pick on a quarterback. So you're going to go get a backup quarterback? I mean, I understand that the develop, but we're not in the world of development. What happens if Russell Wilson gets hurt in a 17 season? Who are you going to go to?
I think his chances of getting hurt are this high compared to when he was with Seattle last year.
Raised exponentially now. I think they're raised exponentially because you've seen the quarterbacks that have been here, they've gotten hurt behind that offensive line. This isn't a coincidence. This is real factual information. Go look it up. It's fact.
Well, they'll tell you Russell Wilson will run. Yeah, you're going to run Russell Wilson and get what happens to running backs? He can run. You're right. He can run until he can't.
He's 30 old. He isn't 28. He's 33 years old. In a 17-game season plus the playoffs that you guys think that we're going to go to the AFC Championship game and the Super Bowl, what are the chances of him doing that and getting hurt? They're raised tenfold.
Tenfold, yeah. You don't want him. You want to limit him running with the football if you can. You want him. And I think that watching the film, I think he's a guy that would embrace throwing more. I think he would be. He would embrace that.
To me, that's not the way I would do it, but okay.
So what I mean by throwing it, I don't mean throwing it 100 times. What I'm saying is, don't run an RPO. Limit him taking off with the football. Give it. Yeah, run it with a running back.
Yeah, don't pull a Pat Shurmur in the end zone when you have Drew Lock running an RPO. Please don't do that. I mean, that was the most
nonsensical. It's just typical Bronco nonsense. Nonsense.
And again, another player that makes no sense is bringing back Melvin Gordon. I mean, if you bring him back, I can't because
for the two things. One, his fumbleitis is it cancels out what he does, the good stuff he does, because his whole career he's fumbled at the wrong time. Plus, the second thing is the amount of money you're paying him.
Well, on top of that, but you had Javonte Williams, and when Mike Boone had limited action, he looked good. And you're not paying these guys.
Yeah, I'm not. I wouldn't be surprised, quite frankly, if they did get rid of Gordon. It wouldn't surprise me. That one wouldn't surprise me. But we'll see.
Okay, so out of all the free agents you would bring back, because we're talking about free agency, there would only be 1 to 2 players I'd bring back.
Well, Callahan, I'd bring Callahan.
Callahan and
Kareem
Jackson.
Kareem, I think, you're going to have to. I think I'm not totally.
1 year, $1 million. I mean, I think Kareem Jackson.
I'd love to go, and now that's been blown up. I wanted to go get Williams from.
Yep.
But because they were limited now, we can't even do that. I don't think.
Yeah, because of the Justin Simmons contract, paying him 4 years, $61 million, and Garrett Bowles.
How do you like that? How do you like that comment about Cincinnati has a worse defense? And I had to say, wait. Wait on that one.
I lost 2 brain cells just reading that comment.
I know.
I'm like, what are you watching? I mean, did you watch the Super Bowl and did you watch the playoff run for that defense? They had,
I know.
wow. I mean, they have better safeties than we do with Von Bell and Jesse Bates. Jesse Bates is a top 3 safety in the league. From all of his peers, he is voted head and shoulders above Justin Simmons. Von Bell made plays that Justin Simmons wouldn't make in his career at all.
Couldn't even do it in his dreams. Oh.
Yeah, and then you had that defensive line with B.J. Hill, who I'm such a big fan of from NC State, DJ Reader, who Vic Fangio wanted, and Elway's like, nope, we need to go after someone else. We need to pay Shelby Harris. I mean, look how that contract's going to affect you now. You're paying him Shelby Harris strictly $11 million in dead cat money.
What? Yeah.
Yep.
And what channel? What channels? When everybody else was cheerleading that, which channel said don't do it? Now we're paying for it because we don't know. Because we don't know anything, right?
Yeah, we don't know anything at all.
Yeah.
Again, the Bengals had a rotation of defensive linemen that helped. That they had Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt, that are excellent coverage linebackers. Logan Wilson I wanted him coming out of the draft. I think it was 2 years ago, and he went in the second round. You could have got him in the second round. I don't know if you could have gotten him because the Bengals had the early pick in the second round. So that's my apologies.
And we have totally lost Colby.
No, here.
You're incognito?
I'm incognito. Hold on. Go ahead, start talking. My apologies.
Start talking or else.
Yeah.
What? Okay, start talking. So, okay, when does free agency starts Monday, and we'll have a pretty good picture by Friday how. Okay.
I'm back.
Yes, he had to go wee wee. No. So what? So by Friday, will we know the situation with
free agency?
Yeah.
I think you're going to know Wednesday this week because free agency starts Monday, and I think you're going in the next couple days, by Wednesday at least, you're going to get a feel on what their plan is.
Okay, the talk inside the bubble of the empty-headedness. You're supposed to get all kinds of free agents willing to take all kinds of pay cuts just to get here. Your take on that reasoning, that logic?
So they take a lot of pay cuts to come here?
Yeah.
These free agents?
Yeah. Because the Broncos are a shoe-in for the Super Bowl.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's been 7 years since we won our last Super Bowl that Elway took credit of because he didn't deserve it. And that's why a lot of free agents flock to get out of here. Guys like Chris Harris Jr., Malik Jackson, Danny Trevathan, TJ Ward, all the above. Didn't want to come back. Aqib Talib didn't want to come back here because of that man right upstairs and John Elway, who doesn't exist.
Well, and I would even throw Von Miller in all of it.
As well. It's
that's not true. That's not true.
So if it's not true, then why did Aqib Talib say, and I quote, that we're getting rid of the dogs? And
who was getting rid of quote? No, you got the quote wrong already. He said somebody's name. Who got rid of the dogs?
Elway.
He said what name? He said what name? Quote.
Getting rid of the dogs.
Who?
And what did Von Miller say?
GMs. I'm not doing this for
GMs.
GMs, meaning Elway and Peyton.
Yeah. So these whole taking pay cuts to come here. Be careful what you wish for because it ain't gonna happen, ladies and gentlemen. There's more valuable destinations out there than just the Denver Broncos.
Well, I post articles showing where.
Those are.
Say it again.
Those are fake articles.
They're fake. Yeah, Sporting News and ESPN, they're totally fake. where Denver was not Wilson's #1 destination. And think about it. It's weird how it just like fell into their lap, and how this team was really trying to get Aaron Rodgers so bad, and then Seattle's like, hey, we're going to start. And the Seattle thing goes with the San Francisco. I mean, they're looking at San Francisco with their young quarterback because they can't pay Garoppolo. They can't. That's not sustainable. So I think what Seattle's doing is basically what he's getting ahead of San Francisco. If you think about it, and then look at the Rams. They can't. Stafford's not going to be sustainable after a while either. So I just think what really is going on in Seattle isn't that they, they're just moving on so that they can build up their team. They can get that done sooner rather than later. I am going to be extremely interested on how Seattle uses the Broncos picks. I'm going to be very, very extremely interested in that.
Yeah, me too.
How they're planning on building their team.
Well, there's a dilemma there with the whole 49ers and Seattle Seahawks thing, because I think the 49ers has something that Seattle doesn't have, and that's patience. In my personal opinion, you can disagree. That's fine. But they have a guy in there named Adam Peters, who I highly regard as one of the best talent evaluators in the National Football League. I think that he has been very underutilized in some aspects of organizations. I think Adam Peters, who's that? He was the guy that drafted Malik Jackson and Danny Trevathan and all those talented players in that draft. And if you look at this, the last, the 3 years that say, oh, Elway got better at drafts. Let's take that thing in a bigger light here. Have those drafts really been impactful?
Yep.
I mean, Adam Peters is an absolute stud at talent evaluation, player development. They go out and get defense and offensive linemen, guys that no one looks at, no one cares about. The stable organizations look at that type of stuff. And Adam Peters almost got the Giants job, and the Giants are doing it the way that I want to do it. They're going after offense and defensive linemen.
Well, they're bringing in the Buffalo model.
And the Buffalo, look how successful that model has been.
Oh, I want to talk about San Fran and something that you wanted Solomon Thomas, right?
Yep.
And we see how that, you were laughed at, oh, you didn't know anything, but how that actually helped the Raiders out. But Solomon Thomas was, as good as Solomon Thomas was, their evaluators found even better people.
Yeah.
And they're able to move Solomon to, and then
with DeForest Buckner to the Colts. They supplemented that defensive line to get rid and get a first-round pick back for DeForest Buckner. That's how you do it. That's talent evaluation. Player.
Does San Francisco, are they looking at edges the outside all the time? No. And nobody could understand how they were slumping. Seattle beat them twice in the season.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they went back up on that rise. Why? Because it's that inside out ended up paying dividends.
Just like with the Chiefs, with Chris Jones that you mentioned, that they put him at the edge for some ungodly reason. And then I said, no, he is in the middle, because they run a 4-3. So he's a 3 tech and a 4-3, which is the defensive front. And he runs that. He uses that pass rush ability that'll help everything out. It's not building everything from the outside in. It's building everything from the inside out. And that's what people fail to realize.
No, well, it's going to take time, but the Broncos will get it figured out when everybody's thumping them on the head. Push up the middle, the same thing we've seen in the Super Bowls. So we see with the championship games, we see it all the time. So it isn't about the edges strictly. It's not, the emphasis is in the middle. That helps the outside. Always does. Always did. That's not what the new coach is. I don't want to hear about it. It's the new way. I look at the way that works. It's the inside out. That's what works. Not some.
I mean, who's won the Super Bowl over the past 2 years? Just to provide current examples. What has helped those teams be successful? Is it those edge players from the Tampa Bay and Rams, or was it that inside pass rush with Sue and Vita Vea and Ashawn Robinson and Aaron Donald?
Yeah.
Take your
Yeah.
pick.
Yeah. You can't get around that there, Skippies. You can't
No.
get around that.
No.
So let's see. Anything else that is there anything else you can think of?
I mean, not really. I mean, I'm just very curious. People look at the draft. For me personally, this free agency is going to be very important for me, especially because this is going to dictate what we're going to do.
Okay, what the mindset is.
Yep, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if we have what, $24 million in cap roughly. If we pay half of that to an edge rusher and just get good enough players at right tackle, if that happens, watch out. It's not going to be a good thing for Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos.
No, we're not doing him any. But we'll be here, looking at game film and saying, try to tell you people this, but you just didn't want to listen, as usual.
I mean, you have Trent Brown, who's a free agent. Is that a guy I would go after? Absolutely. I mean, Trent Brown is a beast. Trent Brown is one of the best right tackles in football. La'el Collins is on the trade market from the Cowboys. Would I go after him? Yeah. But, Tyler Columbus and Little D want to go after Morgan Moses from the Jets. Those are the players just good enough. They don't want top-level offensive line play. And Tyler Columbus, how dare you, man? You were an offensive tackle for the Denver Broncos. I would expect you as an offensive lineman to hold this offensive line to a higher standard than you have been.
He's just there to toe the Elway line. He's just a lackey.
Again, I just say, how dare you? Because you should be holding this offensive line more accountable than what you see with your eyes right now, Tyler Columbus and Mark Schlereth.
If they bring in people like you're saying, and if this offensive line just definitely isn't going to cut it. This is what Russell Wilson was arguing about. That's what's so perplexing to so many people outside of this. That's what's so perplexing, because they look at this offensive line, they're like, that was everything he was griping. He's going into what he was griping about.
Yeah.
So, and again, this is why I think Seattle is looking at doing what the Giants are doing, doing what San Francisco is about to do, looking at the inevitable. We can't sustain Russell Wilson. We got to cut it out. Why not do it now when we can get all this capital? I mean, look at the Broncos. Look at all the picks the Broncos gave away. Look at them. They can get the train rolling. Sure, maybe we won't be relevant next season. That's okay. There's a season after that and a season after that. And then when the Broncos have squandered away what they had, we will become relative, and God knows how long it's going to be before they're ever relative.
To me, the way I see it, this is the worst case scenario for people like us, because we wanted to build this team correctly, not this. Okay, we got the quarterback. Let's eat half of the cap space away. Let's get rid of all the draft picks, and let's not build this team at all. Let's get players that are just good enough.
It's the cart before the horse. It's the cart before the horse. Well, yeah. It's just, yeah. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Let me just put it this way. This isn't just a shoe-in Super Bowl. It's going to be a bumpy ride, Wilson or no Wilson at all.
This team isn't even going to sniff the Super Bowl. I will put that out there right now. This team won't sniff it.
Yeah, it logically shouldn't sniff it. It logically shouldn't sniff it.
Now, there's way better team. There's better teams in our division than the Denver Broncos in player personnel. The Chargers and the Raiders and the Chiefs have better player personnel than we do.
Because they hadn't squandered into just outside.
Mahomes, Herbert, or Carr better than Russell Wilson. That's not the argument I'm talking about. I'm talking about what did the Chargers just do? Okay, they get it. What are the Raiders doing?
Who's that? Khalil Mack?
Yeah. The guy in Chicago that was the difference maker for Vic Fangio.
Are we talking again another push up the middle kind of situation?
Yeah, you can use volume. Yeah, exactly. And who helped Matt Crosby get his 4 years, $95 million? It was Solomon Thomas who made the difference.
Yeah, Solomon Thomas. We don't want him. We don't want him. And give us an edge rusher. Give us a corner.
Yeah,
Get us a corner.
yeah, yeah. Max Crosby should be thanking his lucky stars that Solomon Thomas was in that defensive front that got him that 4 years, $95 million. And I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't be surprised if we lose to the Raiders, Chargers, and Chiefs twice. Denver Bronco fans, I don't want to hear it because
No. Whoa. Well, these people's heads
this
will.
is what you wanted.
If they lose twice, their heads will explode. If they split with the Chargers and the Raiders, if they've split with the Chargers and the Raiders, they're still going to flip out. They're still going to flip out.
Yep.
And yes, I could see them, best case scenario, splitting.
I agree.
Or losing twice to somebody.
I could see them losing twice to the Chiefs again. I
Yes.
mean, that wouldn't surprise me.
Especially if the defense takes a dive.
Which I could see. I could see the defense taking a major step back. And then people are going to be like, oh, why is this? Thank your lucky stars you had Vic Fangio for 3 years.
So let me ask you this. So all else fails, Wilson can defer from signing any kind of extension for 2 years, right? He can.
Correct.
He can play it and say, "Yep, I'm going to hold off. I'll give you 2 years," and then he can hit the market, right?
Yeah. He can. The way I see it,
That's really. I'll be honest with you. That's why I don't like this deal, because we're not really set up for him, and if he left, I couldn't blame him for leaving.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry, can you talk? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
There's really nothing to say. You hit the nail.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
Nope. Just see what happens in free agency this week. We'll go off of that.
Yeah. I may have to do an early show with you in the week because I'm leaving on a trip. So, maybe.
Just shoot me a time, and we could do it in the morning, or I could do it when I'm in incognito. Doesn't matter.
Okay, maybe we'll do it Thursday morning.
Okay. Yep, that works.
Yeah,
give me the time.
We'll keep in contact. We'll go on our message boards and talk, and I'll get that. Yeah, you guys talk to each other on the Yeah. So yeah. Okay.
Okay. Cool, man.
All right. Hey, I'll see you.
All right. Yeah, take care.
All right, bye.